from Southern Maryland's weather leader. This is a JB Weather Alert.
Hello and good morning, everyone. I am Forecaster John Bordash with you here in the Weather Center this morning to give you a live update on our storm that is now less than 12 hours away from impacting the region. If you can hear me fine, please let me know in the comments before we get too underway with this. I'd like to make sure that we are all good on that front. And while I wait for that to come in, assuming you can hear me, we're going to do a couple of things this morning. I'm going to go over the latest updates to the forecast, and then I will explain to you why those updates have been made in the way that they have been. And I see Wanda says she can hear me fine. And then we'll get into some of your questions. If you're coming in just to see how much snow is going to fall, take a look at the bottom bar there that says quick glance. There's like 30 town names from like our little corner of the world, and it is our region isn't that big, so there's bound to be a town in there that's pretty close to you. So you can look there for that snow total, and you can also head over to jbweather.net for more information there on the forecast. The top article is this morning's update. But as we take a look at radar right now, you can see it is already picking up on a little bit of snow, maybe even a little bit of sleet down here near Culpeper, but a little bit of snow across the region. Up here in where I'm at, just south of Harrisburg, we have a little bit of a coating out here, and that was kind of expected, right? I first want to take you through Futurecast here. Let's walk you through that, give you a good idea. What is it we're looking at? What's the timing going to be? Let me bring you on over. This is not the most up-to-date run of Futurecast. That's running right now. That should be out by 9 o'clock, so I'll get that posted for you here in a little bit. But this is what Futurecast is trying to project for 9 o'clock. You see a wide swath of green. That would register as rain, but that's just the computer having some issues trying to pick up on what would actually be falling. I wouldn't expect much of this at 9 o'clock to actually be reaching the ground. So go ahead and put this in motion, though. And what you'll see is by the time we hit right around noon, we begin to see some snow break out to the north and west of D.C. Again, there's a wide swath of green there as well. I don't think much of that rain would actually be hitting the ground. But as we head on over towards 1, 2, and 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, you begin to see that snow become a little bit more widespread. And I do think by the time we hit 3, 4, 5 o'clock, we could begin to see some rain and or snow showers across the region. Today, our high temperature gets right around 40 to 41. So it's very possible this could start as a little bit of rain. But I don't think that's going to change the forecast drastically. We are cooling temperatures down quickly for tomorrow. But we do have that rain-snow mix trying to potentially kick off right around 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Little accumulation from this, so I wouldn't expect too much of an issue for your evening commute. Granted, some slick spots are possible. And to my knowledge, Prince George's County schools have already announced that they are closing 2 hours early. Is it possible other area school districts do the same? Sure, I would give it about a 50-50 shot. Maybe you see that, but we'll play it by ear. As we push this forward, you can see it isn't until after about sunset. Once we hit about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, when that snow becomes a little bit more widespread and then really becomes focused down here in southern Maryland. And overnight, you can see some darker bands here trying to set up southeast of D.C. here in southern Maryland along the eastern shore. That would be indicative of maybe some more moderate snow trying to fall. And as we head through the evening, the snow continues. It begins to wane a little bit north and west of D.C. Locally, it's continuing, though, and that goes right through sunrise tomorrow. Our Futurecast here at just about 8 o'clock continues to show snow falling. But that snow will begin to taper off from west to east. And you'll see that here as we head towards 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. By about lunchtime tomorrow, we begin to see this wrap up. You see it changes it back over to rain. It wouldn't be rain, it would still be snow. That's just a small little bug the computer has. But by the time we head on over towards 2, 3 o'clock, I think we're talking about things clearing up tomorrow. So let's get you back on over here. This is the hyper-local snowfall forecast, and I didn't actually mean to start here, so we'll come back to this real quick. I want to get you through the timeline coming up. I need to get to the beginning of my show. Sorry, let me get that loaded up. And that's what I get for not totally having this all good to go here. That is what I want. So I want to make sure I'm bringing that all the way up. There we go. So this would be the updated forecast for today. What can you expect throughout the region today? I think by noon, 1, 2 o'clock, most of us here in southern Maryland are dry. We saw that on Futurecast. You might have some flurries northwest of D.C. 3 to 5 o'clock, we could have some of those light rain and snow showers. I still think we're talking about little accumulation locally, but some slick spots will be possible, so do keep that in mind. Temperatures are falling though, and I think it's after sunset when we switch over to that period of light snow and then widespread snow overnight with the steadiest snow there to the south and east. Regionally, this is a look at our alerts. We have winter weather advisories for just about our entire region. This is from 4 o'clock this afternoon through 4 p.m. on Saturday, and this is where minor to maybe moderate snowfall accumulations could be possible. Down towards, I believe that is Northumberland County along the northern neck there in Virginia, and then from much of the eastern shore on up into the Philadelphia metro area. Winter storm warning, that's where the heavier snows are going to fall. That's from 7 p.m. tonight through 7 p.m. Saturday. And we have a rare blizzard warning actually in effect for the extreme coastal communities of the eastern shore. So we're talking like Chicotee on up towards Ocean City, Bethany Beach, Rehoboth Beach, Lewis, Delaware, on over towards Cape May, New Jersey, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Those spots are not just looking at heavy snow, but the gusty winds as well. So blizzard warning on out there. This is a look at the snowfall forecast. I did just update this morning. I woke up at like 3 o'clock to get it together. So a lot of time has gone into this trying to get the right ranges, and it took me a good like 30, 45 minutes to get these lines right. I was like drawing and erasing little bits here and there to make sure that this was something good. And we'll zoom into southern Maryland here in a second. But what you can see is that heaviest corridor of snow, 10 to 15 inches, is going to be found along the Atlantic coastline from Ocean City, points north and east into southeastern Mass, parts of New England. They could be looking at up to 2 to 3 feet up there. I think locally, let's get you on in because I know a lot of people want to see what's happening here in southern Maryland, the northern neck. There's going to be a tight gradient. Let me just actually come back here. The big theme here is that you're going to have a lot at the coast and very little west of I-95 and a sharp gradient in between. And we're in that gradient here in parts of southern Maryland. So I think it will depend on where you are. That's isn't to invite a whole bunch of questions about how much is going to fall where I live. But I do think what this means is what you get in your neighborhood could be totally different than what your friend like 10 minutes up the road could get. Maybe not totally different, but maybe let's say you live in the Chesapeake Ranch Estates, right? Let's say you're measuring 4 inches. Friend up in St. Leonard might only be measuring 2 or 3. So that's the kind of gradient we're talking about. I think we're going to find the most snow in southern St. Mary's County. We've been promoting that idea here the last couple of days. I think it's going to be south of Lexington Park, south of Great Mill, so through Park Hall, Dameron, St. Mary City, St. Inagos, Scotland, Ridge, Point Lookout, those communities there, I think you could be talking upwards of 5 or 6 inches. I think that is definitely a potential. And it's that little pink corridor. So here on the big map, it says 5 to 10 in the pink. I don't expect 10 inches in southern St. Mary's County. I think the chance of that happening is very little. What I will say, though, is I do think you could get up to 5 or 6 inches, and I wanted to make sure that southern St. Mary's was included in that because that's definitely different than the forecast in the dark blue. The dark blue is that 3 to 6 range, and I try to break it down a little bit more for you. I think south of Prince Frederick, south of Mechanicsville, so we're talking St. Leonard, Lusby, Solomons, Leonardtown, Loveville, Hollywood, California, Callaway, Valley Lee, those communities there, and that kind of corridor, and that stretches out into Westmoreland County too. 3 to 5 inches, I think, is possible. I don't know how many 5-inch reports are in there, but that was going to be the zone that could see up to 5, maybe 1 or 2, you get up to 6. I think from that zone back to about 301. So we're talking from about Loveville and about Prince Frederick, northwest up to like Cobb Island, Newburgh, Dentsville, Mechanicsville, Hughesville, Aquasco, Eagle Harbor, Huntingtown, the beaches, Dunkirk, Lothian, Shadyside, Annapolis. I think you're talking more like a 2 to 4 inch range up through there. So I think many of you probably see 2 or 3 inches, but there is the upside potential to see up to 4. If you're in Dunkirk, I wouldn't expect 4 inches. If you're in Annapolis, I don't know if I would expect 4 inches. But there is the potential you could see up to that. Again, don't just hone in on those upper numbers and be like, JB is calling up to 4 inches here in Shadyside. That range, 2 to 4, I think is a good fit for you. From 301 to I-95, so that's encompassing much of western Charles. So we're talking from Newburgh up to the Plato, Waldorf, Brandywine, Andrews, Clinton, on up towards Crofton. Points west on over towards Andrews and Akakie and Marshall Hall and Indian Head, Pittsca, on over towards Nanjamo and King George, even Colonial Beach. I think you're talking 1 to 3. Do I think Indian Head's going to get 3 inches of snow? I don't. maybe in the best case scenario, if that you're looking for snow, you could see up to 3. I would bet on more like a 1 to 2 with the potential of up to 3, right? And then west of I-95, I think we're only talking maybe an inch or two at best. DC's kind of in that category too. Here's a look at the model output, right? So if you've been following along, especially with this chart, you've seen these numbers continuously change. The forecast, it's been a hard forecast to come together with, because while we don't just rely on the models for our forecast, this is a tool in my toolbox that I use, right? So it's a great starting point. We've seen these numbers kind of fall now down into, well, not fall down, they've risen a little bit, but they're pretty well put into my forecast ranges, right? So Pax River 3 to 5 inches, 4 out of my 5 there on the bar graph show something within that range. The North American model is a little out there, trying to put 6, maybe even 7 inches of snow into the region, and that is definitely possible. If this storm continues to trend a little further west, we're going to be moving. So let me bring it back here, right? The further west this comes, the further west these zones are going to come, and vice versa. The further east it goes, the further east these zones go. And we saw that yesterday. So if this storm comes, let's just say it's 20 miles to the west, right? That's not that big of a difference when we're talking about large-scale atmospheric patterns. Just a 20-mile shift to the west. Take these categories. Let me zoom in here. You take them and you shift them 20 miles to the west. That would then maybe get Lesby in on a 4 to 6 inch range. Maybe even getting near Prince Frederick, Leonardtown. You could be talking about that. So those are the small little details that it's hard to forecast this far out, and I'm not going to change this map again. But that's what our models are showing right now. Still a little bit of variance, but a little bit better in the way of agreement. Winds will be an issue too, especially with this intensifying low. I think we're talking 35 to 45 mile an hour gusts. Let me get you to the impact timeline. A lot of you like this graphic, and I will post it up on Facebook and Twitter a little bit later on this morning for those that want access to it, because this kind of goes past just today's hourly forecast, and it gives you an idea of the snow impact, temperatures, gusts, outages, and the road impacts. I know all of that's very important for you trying to plan. And again, we talked this through about 3, 4 o'clock. Maybe you get some flurries, and I think it's once we get past 5 or 6 o'clock we get into more steady snow. And your heaviest is going to be found southwest, or in our southeastern zones rather, as we get towards about midnight. And that's going to try to linger until about sunrise, and we begin to wrap things up as we approach lunchtime tomorrow. Temperatures, again, we get up near 40 today, and they will gradually come down throughout the day, and then look where we're sitting by the time we hit sunrise tomorrow. We're in the low 20s. That's going to allow this to become a more powdery, a fluffy snow, not a heavy wet snow like we saw at the beginning of the month. That I think will help out with the power outage situation. So winds will be gusty, upwards of 40 miles an hour at times for some of you, which could by itself cause outages. But because we're not talking a heavy wet snow, it's a dry snow that blows around super easily. I think that's going to allow that power outage threat not to be super high, but it is elevated. In terms of your roadway impacts, I think we're talking slick spots this evening. Not a whole bunch, but some. So do be careful. And I said this last night. Let's say you're driving Route 4 northward through Prince Frederick. You're taking 3 Notch Road there through California. You're taking Route 6 or 301, right? There could be as much as a cloud in the sky, and drivers are going crazy. So if you have falling rain and snow, even though it's not accumulating, that's going to cause some issues. So while I don't think we're talking snow-covered roadways this evening, do be aware that, there could be some issues there. And that's why I think PG County schools are letting out 2 hours early, and that potential could be there later on for some calls to come out, maybe out of Calvert or St. Mary's County to have that changed too. And again, I get that a 50-50 shot. And to my understanding, Charles County schools were already scheduled to have a 2-hour early today. But snow, we will start to see roads become somewhat snow covered after sunset tonight once that snow starts to fall. Ground temperatures are pretty cold, and with falling temperatures, whatever falls will stick right away once we get after sunset tonight. So that could cause some issues on your back roads, your secondary roads, and then main roads could start to have issues as we head past midnight towards sunrise tomorrow. While snowplow should be able to keep up with this, the snow will be falling, especially in southeastern zones at a good clip where they're going to come through, but then we'll see an accumulation behind that as well. So keep that in mind. Let me get you back on over here, though, to that snowfall forecast, show you what we're talking about. And again, if I show you this, right, the blue zone's 3 to 6, pink is 5 to 10. What I like to do is take you into our region and not just zoom in and just show you that. I like to break it down a little bit more for you. So not just put town names on it, but breakdown, do I think you're closer to 3 or closer to 6? Because I can say closer to 3, but where exactly do you fall in that? And I think, yeah, Dunkirk 2 to 4. I really bet maybe 2 or 3 there. I know you're in 3 to 6. I don't think you see 6. I think that 6 is really reserved closer to that pink zone, down towards southern Calvert, parts of southern St. Mary's County. So do keep that in mind. So if you have questions, I will try my best to get to them. My continuous coverage will kick off this afternoon, probably around 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So do be around for that. And I don't know if we'll do hourly updates at that point. We'll do them periodically, so to give you updates on what's going on. So I imagine maybe like a 12 o'clock update, maybe then like a 3 o'clock update, then like a 6 o'clock update. Then we'll kind of refine that from there. This map I don't envision changing much though. And again, don't hug the upper side of these totals. So if you're like in Ridge, you're like, oh, we're getting 4 to 6. Oh, sorry, we're getting 6 inches. Slow down just a little bit. I think we're talking maybe up to 6, but I wouldn't get too excited for 6, but the potential is there. Let's see. Samantha says I'm right at the bridge. Oh, I don't know if maybe I'm just reading that wrong, but 3 to 5. If you're in King George, Ken Island, 3 to 5. Maybe that's what you're talking about, the Bay Bridge. Yeah, probably 3 to 5 on up there. Let me scroll up here, see if there are other questions. Yeah, Mindy says she's not liking that 6-inch estimate. And technically, Valley Lee is in my, well, I guess it would be like, you're shaded in a 3 to 6 zone. But I wouldn't necessarily get too excited for 6. I do see a question of when do I sleep. I was able to knock out, went to bed at like 10:30, was up at 3, 4.5 hours, 5 hours. I get sleep though, it's fine. We make it through. Oh, and I will say, I have my coffee ready, and I don't know if you can see that. This is our new snow line, or the new snow mug here. Head to store.jbweather.net to get yours today for $20. It's going to snow, and you're gonna want to have this out. You're sitting at work, or you're a teacher sitting at your desk, and you hear people talking about the weather. It's like, hey, guess what? I got my mug out, and that's what JB is saying, right? So, yeah, and it holds a decent amount of coffee too. Let's see. Yeah, Samantha, Kent Island. Yeah, like a 3 to 5. I think is good for you. Wacomico Shores, yep, sitting right around 2 to 4. Kent County. Let me come back here. So Kent County would be right next. So you see Dover right there, right? So Kent County is right next to the 5 and the 5 to 10 text box there. So Kent County, I think most of you are seeing like 3 to, I would call it maybe more like a 4 to 6 through there. I know, we need to expand the merge line to include like teacher wear too. The Saturday morning commute, I'll get you on over to that timeline too. So Saturday morning, I would expect some issues. Let's see, I have to go to Arlington Saturday afternoon. Let me take you to Futurecast. So this is 3 o'clock Saturday. You know, we're clearing out. I mean, snow gets out of here around noon or so. Now that commute to Arlington, I assume you're probably either, if you're in like, you're probably either taking like 5/301 or you're taking 4 northward. You're probably going to have some issues getting there just because there could be some snow covered roadways. Granted, the snow shouldn't be falling at that point. See, I live on the bay. The first storm where we got over 10 inches of snow, I got maybe 2 inches, but down the street from the bay, I got 10 inches. Yeah, so that's, I mean, let me just zoom you on in here. And our models never really picked this up. So the bay water out here, right, it's warm, and I use quotation marks around that. So while the land is sitting at like 30 degrees, the water is sitting at like 42, 44, the air associated with it. And right up along our immediate coastal location. So we're talking right here through the beaches, Randall Cliff Beach, through Willows, Dares Beach, Calvert Beach, and Long Beach, down here to Cove Point, Drum Point, Rousby Hall, Solomons, Pax River down here through Park Hall, all the way like right in this region, right? Right up along our Bayside communities, you always see a little bit less. And that's because your temperatures are just a degree or two warmer because of the water. So that's what causes that. Now, you literally head maybe 2 or 3 miles inland, and it's a different story. And it's the same thing when we talk about winds. When we talk about our extreme coastal communities, we're literally meaning like 1 to 2 miles within a shoreline. That's where your gustiest winds are going to be, and that's typically where you're a little bit warmer. And you could see the same thing at play here. Let me bring it back. Let me come over here. Yeah, so let's say you're sitting in Willows, right? Your forecast is 2 to 4. It might be a little bit closer to 2, or maybe Prince Frederick's closer to 3 or 4. Chapter Jamie, I think you're making a joke there, asking that question of 10 to 15 in Chaptico. If you want to get your hopes up for that, sure. That's not what I have on the map, though. Karen wants to know when it'll stop, and it'll probably wrap up around lunchtime tomorrow. Yeah, and what's this? Trisha, yeah, she lived half a mile from the bay and got 11 to 12. I was in Prince Frederick right off of Route 4 for that storm, and I measured 10 inches. But I know people, like, where you can get more of a coastal influence, you typically know where those places are. The southern parts of these peninsulas, so southern Calvert, southern St. Mary's, and then those locations right up along the shoreline, you always see less. And, like, I think Leslie only got, like, right? 5 or 6 inches from that, while Huntington got 15. Hey Diane, so Chick-fil no, you said chick oil. I read that as Chick-fil-A. Yeah, so the play that I think you should be good through about like 4 o'clock. After that point, that's when we start to see the snow move in. Easton, and I think Easton should be down here at the quick lens. I think. What did I tell? Let me bring up the ticker text myself. Easton, I think I have you at 5 to 8. So Sunday's gonna be cold. Um, my 10-day forecast is up on Facebook and Twitter. I don't have it loaded in my show right now, but we are going to be cold for for Sunday. Now I think cleanup should be nice. Well, if sunny skies, winds will be calming a little bit, but roads by Sunday should be good. So more inland and Colonial Beach. Should we see more than 1 to 3? Erica, I would say 2 to 4 for you probably. I think Colonial Beach itself. So I like to come over here and do these zoom ins for you. And actually, what I want to do, uh, let me bring in here. Let's take the radar off quick. So Colonial Beach, right in here, right up along our estuaries, right here. I think that's where you're talking 1 to 3. I think once you get just outside of Colonial Beach, and especially as you head southward, you're talking more like a 2 to 4. And then once you get south of Montrose, is it Tros or Tros? And I don't know how you would type that out, but is it are we talking long? Is it that a long O? No, Tros. Tross. I guess that was be a long O with extra S's. I don't know. But once you get south of there through Acorn, Kinsale, this is the region down here near Louisetta, Warsaw, where you could be talking more like a 4 to 6 potentially. And yeah, Samantha, this storm definitely has the potential to be an overachiever. Let me get you back here. So if this storm comes any further west, again, even just like a 10-mile shifts all of these totals further west, right? So if this storm comes 10 miles further west, then we're getting La Plata, Waldorf, Andrews in on like a 2 to 4 inch zone, and we're getting Pax River in on a 4 to 6 inch zone. Whereas if it goes 10 miles further east, right, then you kind of bring everything, those small, a mile can make a difference, right? And I think what you see in your neighborhood will likely be different than what your neighbor up the road sees that's maybe like 5 minutes away. Like if you're sitting in Lesby, right? And I use that because I grew up in Lesby. So like if you're sitting in Lesby, the Chesapeake Ranch Estates, what you get will be different than what your friends up in St. Leonard or Prince Frederick are seeing. And it's going to be different than what your friends in Lexington Park or down in Great Mills or Ridge are seeing as well. Amy, so the roads. So I think by the Saturday afternoon, snowplows will have had a good chance to get everything cleaned up. Those slick spots are still going to remain, and I do think secondary roads will remain snow covered at that point. It takes some time for them to clear everything. And the winds are going to be gusty. We're talking wind gusts up to 40, so it could lead to blowing and drifting snow. So I wouldn't advise travel much at all on Saturday, but if you're going to travel, it would be in the afternoon and evening. But slick spot, it's still going to be an issue, you know. Angie, you're coming from Arlington to Waldorf. I would say, I would aim to be in Waldorf by like 4 or 5. Um, I have the impact timeline somewhere in here. There we go. Actually, what I want to do is show you, yeah, this. Flurries are possible northwest of DC before then, but I think we start to see those light rain and snow showers break out between about 3 and 5. But I don't think we're talking accumulation, so I would really aim to be in Waldorf by 4 or 5. It will be cold, Victoria. This won't be a wet snow though. And winds. Um, there we go. I think we're talking 35 to 45 mile an hour gusts. I think sustained winds probably up to maybe 15 or 20. Oh, so Montrose is how you say that. Thank you, Eric. I think that's what you're saying. So it's Montrose. That's what I thought, but then I was like, maybe there's a long O with that. And for those that were like watching back over the summer, it was a whole thing for me to learn Pitska, right? Because for like years I called it Pasai. That's the way it looks. But I mean, growing up in Lesby, people will call it Looseby that don't know it, and it's not really an S; it's more of a Z, Lesby. So Montrose. That's good to know. Sharon King George. Oh, King George is coming through right now in the bottom part of your screen. I don't know if this will even be a wet snow for the coast, and I think that is what's going to allow the snow to pile up. If this was more of a wet snow, these totals wouldn't be as high the totals wouldn't be as high region-wide, but even though your temperatures might be a little bit warmer at the coast to start, they too will see the temperatures get down into the 20s. Ocean City, Atlantic City, like those Salisbury, those regions will see the temperatures go down, and the majority of the snow in that 10 to 15 inch range, and even the 5 to 10 range, that largely comes after sunset. So we're getting some snow showers beforehand, but out there, the snow starts later, and temperatures will already be colder. So they too will see more of a fluffy snow. And that's what's going to that'll add a couple of extra inches of fluff. Where if this was a wet snow, you'd probably only be talking 6 to 12 out there. But because you have a little bit of a fluff factor, I think 10 to 15 is very doable out there. Melissa, I think you will have some issues getting to BWI tomorrow. I would expect some of those issues. So maybe if you want to head up there tonight, and by tonight I mean like I don't know, like 5 or 6. I know that's like early to get there, but getting up there around 7 o'clock is going to be a little bit of an issue. Travel to Delaware from Kent. Oh, Samantha, I'd be nervous too. Thankfully, how long is that drive? Probably what 45 minutes to an hour. I guess depends on where you're going in Delaware. But I'm like looking at Dover. Yeah, I think you're gonna have issues though. The snow out there won't really start to wrap up to like 4 or 5. So that's kind of where we sit right now. Nice little morning update. So there was no like morning forecast update like there normally is, right? It's just like a typical like here's today's high temperatures and the winds. The morning update this morning was the final call, and I didn't really want to do a final call. I would have loved to have stuck with the one I did yesterday, but last night we signed off or whatever. I'm getting ready for the gym, and we get one of our first models in the North American, and it comes even further west with bigger snow totals, and it's like, oh. So like I just go to the gym, I just get away from the computer. I need to do that. I come back like an hour later, and then our American model is coming, and it's come further west, and it's like, okay. My gut still does not trust the storm at all. I can very easily see how we don't get this much snow if this goes a little further east, or if we see enough dry air in the region where we get dry pockets that set up. However, you can only deny the data for so long, so we'll go with the data. I'm not super confident in it, but we'll see how this goes. Joy from Hanover to Southern Maryland. Michelle, that's going to be difficult too. Hanover, PA. So that's right over the state line there in York County. I think up there you're seeing an inch, and then down here in Southern Maryland you're talking 3, 4-ish. So that's going to be a little bit of a tricky one, especially once you get. So I know when I go home from, I live in Pennsylvania too. I'll take 83 to 695 to 3 to 301 to 4, right? I think once you hop off at like 695, you could have some issues. But Julie, you should be fine Sunday. So yeah, that's where we sit. So we will continue to watch all of this, and I can show you a couple of what our models are showing too. I can do that for you for those of you that are still sticking around and want to know what's going on. Let me get you on over here. So this would be the North American model, and this one, it's a little. It gets a little up there with its projection. So for those of you that don't know where Southern Maryland is on this map, it is right in there. Northern next circled as well. This is starting us off right around 7 a.m. So you see snow showers to the north, and we've seen some snow showers up here in Pennsylvania. This is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You see how the snows really go in north and west, and then we see that begin to move southward as we head towards sunset. So if it's like 6 o'clock and you haven't seen snow yet, that wouldn't surprise me. Most of our snow comes as the coastal low starts to get going. You can see those darker shades really getting set up across parts of our region. The heaviest snow is going to be out towards New England, New England and the coastline. Let me get you to a wider shot here. You can see where those deep blues really set up here. You get those heavy bands going right into Cape May, Atlantic City, and eventually it pulls away. But this is what our model does. Let me get you back to like a Maryland look. So in terms of this model, it does a lot of snow, and it actually puts the bullseye in Calvert County. But here's the general theme. So like out here, Atlantic City, you're talking maybe up to 2 feet off, like this model verbatim, but I don't think this model is 100% right. You're talking maybe like a 20-inch amount in Ocean City. Again, I think that's a little overdone. But the general theme here is as you head further west, the snow totals taper off. Now this model does do a lot more. It's on the upper end of my forecast. I'll show you what our American model is showing. It would still verify the forecast. It's a little bit less. It has 9 inches out in Ocean City. Atlantic City, you're talking over a foot. DC, you're getting like 2.5-ish or so on this model. Much of our region sits in that 2, 3, 4-inch range as well. So that would be the lower side of our forecast, but this is more than the American model showed yesterday. Our European model, again, really shows how once you get like from 301 east is where you're really going to find those snows. This model takes that tight gradient between like 3 inches and 6 inches and pushes it a little further east, right up along like the eastern shore where Pax River is only at like 3.8 instead of like a 6. But then you ramp up to 12 inches in Ocean City and then almost 15 in Atlantic City. The National Weather Service forecast. Actually, I think what might be easier to do, let's come over here to the National Weather Service website. Let's come down here. So again, this is their forecast, not mine. There we go. So their current forecast is like 2 to 3 the plated, and this looks a lot like my forecast here, where they then have the next color would be like 3 to 4, and then 4 to 6 in far southern parts of like Calvert and St. Mary's County. This is their like max extreme though. So if this storm were to really overperform, this is what they have. And I know it's kind of hard to read with the white font. But they have like 7 inches in Annapolis, 6 La Plata, 10 in Lexington Park. Will this happen? I don't think so. But this is like the worst case or best case scenario, however you look at it. And then at least this much, right? So at least an inch in much of our region. So and then what I can also show you is just what the Weather Prediction Center is forecasting by and large. Their forecast is a little bit up there too. Winter 50%. So this is their current forecast. They have like 10 inches or so Salisbury, Ocean City. They get 6 or 7 inches into parts of our region. But that you go from like 6.7 at Pax River up here to DC, you're sitting at 1.1. So that's that tight gradient there at play. So you're going to see those different like color lines, like just how quickly that drops off. So I do indeed think your best chance to see 6 inches is this region right in here locally. That's going to be where your probably going to find you have the best chance for up to 6. I think these zones through here, it's a really tight zone. So we'll say up to 6. That could be your best chance for up to 5. I think you're talking up to 4, really like through here. And then northwest of there. So it's literally like as you move down Route 4, as you head down 3 Notch Road, that's kind of what you're talking about. Let me bring it back on over here, though, and show you my forecast so you don't forget. Debbie wants to know what time we're starting things off. Let me get you to that hourly timeline. There you go. Driving back from Hershey, PA. So Pam, I don't live too far from Hershey. So Sunday, Sunday will be a better travel day. I think you should be fine for that. But Salisbury's seeing, 5 to 8, maybe 6 to 10 inches of snow. So once you get into Salisbury, south to east and south of Cambridge, there, you will probably run into some issues with that. Samantha, I don't know to my understanding, the iPhone weather app, and I mean, maybe you're like an Android or something, but like I know on my phone, right? So the iPhone weather app, I believe they use what the Weather Channel gives them, and the Weather Channel is purely model based. There is no human putting in that information. I'm not sure what model they use. It seems to change. However, I believe the model that they're using is the American model, which is I showed you just a little bit ago, and it's and just like going right off the model is not really a good forecasting practice. Victoria, expect 1 to 8 in Dameron. That's a good range. That'll get you right. Cover to Virginia Beach this evening. Okay, I would try to leave as early as possible for that. Carol, I can tell you which forecast you should believe. I think the forecast you need to be believing and following is this one right here. Hey, there we go, Jane. So yeah, that's where we sit right now. So we're gonna I'm going to get away from the computer screen for a little bit. I've been in front of it too long. So we're going to wrap this up. I will have updates all day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll probably do another live stream around noon today, and then we'll do another one after that probably around 3. So if you want more timing information, you want to get another look at the local snowfall forecast, what impacts could we expect, head over to jbweather.net for that. For all that information. I know the website, especially this week, has been so finicky. It's annoying. Oh god. I do an update. Oh, the website crashes, right? And my apologies for that. But I think right now I can try it quick. I'm gonna try it quick for you. And we will let this load before we get going. So this was that. Okay, so the website is loading right now. So you click over here, latest post, AM update. It does take a little bit to load, and I know that. But if you look up here, it'll appear here in a second, and it might be hard for you to see, but you see how this like peaks up right here? That's a lot of web traffic right now. But you come through, you see like the header image, and you see the timing forecast, futurecast you can play around with, accumulation map, the local look, current alerts, what could go wrong, summary. So all that's there, and actually if you head back to the home page, this right here, so this shows you current radar, and this does a lot for you, and I don't think a lot of people realize this. If you click on this right here, let me zoom in a little bit. So this little blue icon right here, it allows you to change. So like you could bring up your own future cast for over the 1 hour or 48 hours. You could load up the watches and warnings yourself, and you see this looks exactly like what is on the website. Lightning, sensors, satellite. What are the temperatures right now? This shows you winds and forecast snow accumulation. I don't know. I've never really played with this part of it, but I don't really see it showing up. Oh, I guess I have to put it in motion. Yeah, there we go. And this model here, I mean, yeah, you could do all this on the website. So Plenty of fun stuff there. You can head over to the store tab too, and that'll take you over to the JB Weather merch line as that loads up. So you can get your snow mug or your snow hoodie. So have a nice and safe one. Keep it tuned here to JB Weather. We'll have updates throughout the day. You'll see me again. We'll talk soon. Have a nice and safe one, and keep it tuned right here.
Check the forecast anytime online at jbweather.net.